Hey guys, Dibs here, and I'm coming to you guys with a quick tutorial for the best bag add-on in the game, which is Ark Inventory. It's better than Bag Non Hot Take, I don't give a fuck. So, first, what you guys need to do is simply get it installed, and you can open it up, and it's totally not going to look like this. It's going to look like absolute crap by default. There's actually a lot that goes into it, but trust me, once you get it set up, it's good for all of your characters, and it is absolutely fantastic. I can't even play without it. So let's get started to get it hopefully looking like mine. So as you can see, I've got my empty slots here, and then I've got quest items sitting here. I've got cloth goes here, stuff for leatherworking is going here. It's my main profession, so I've assigned chaos orbs to sit with my leatherworking stuff. I've got food, consumes, flasks, the stupid lock boxes in their own little category, and my sets of gear. So I have this all set up, and I even have a little custom one where I keep my hearthstone, my fishing pole, skinning knife, stuff that I'm just going to have on the character kind of by default. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you guys how to go through and get this config going. So first you're going to click on the little green bag. You're going to go to config, and it's going to open up an extremely convoluted kind of setup. Now, only half the setup happens in this window. The other half actually happens on the bag itself. So I'm going to kind of go through that one first. If you click on this little gear that says edit mode, it's going to bring your bag into edit mode. And again, it looks kind of overwhelming. But each of these little containers, and notice not all of them are full. They kind of disappear if they don't have an item assigned to them. So you can just have as many as you want and your bag will nicely condense. What you do is you right click on it and you get a whole host of settings you could go into. So what you can do is assign each section a setting. So this one, I want all of my BOE. So I've gone into system and selected equipment. Where is it? I don't know. Oh, you know why? Because it's assigned here. Equipment not soulbound. So you just right click on each section and you can assign whatever you want to go in there. You can also assign how you want to sort those items. So I could go in here and I want them to sort by their age or by a standard sort that I've created that sorts them by item level. Or for my gear, I have it over here. It's sorted by equipment slot. So everything is alphabetical. So cloak, then chest, and so on. So you can kind of really customize each slot. So if we take a look here, fish oil is just sitting in my empty bag. Right? It's something that I haven't assigned to a slot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it and I can see fish oil is classified by the game as a reagent, right? So what I want to do is say, okay, I don't want it to sit with the reagents or in my bag. I want it to go somewhere. So I'm just going to tell it to go to, I'm going to reassign it from that. And I'm going to say, oh, fish oil to me, that's basically trash. So I click that. And you can see the fish oil has disappeared to my trash section. So this box collects the trash, and now fish oil is separate, and I can just, click it and sell it with all the other trash that I have there, like gray items that are automatically going to go to that section. So once you guys are comfortable kind of working with that, that's how you get the group set up. But then there's a ton that goes into getting it to look kind of minimalist and honestly more usable than the default layout. So let's go over to our settings window here and kind of go through it. The first thing is clicking on tooltips. Item counts is a great feature that Ark Inventory brings. If I hover over this, it tells me Dibs has one of these Elementium lockboxes in his bag. If I hover over volatile air, you can see I've got 11 in my bank, 3 in my bag for a total of 14. So it's given me a ton of extra information on this. And it actually will also show any alts that have similar items. I don't really have alts. Well, I do, I guess. Yeah. So Hearthstone, you could see my other characters that have a Hearthstone. So super awesome. You could set it here to be, self only. I think faction only is a great setting. So if you have any alliance characters, but no one does that because they're not idiots. So You know, you could have that set up. And if you're an officer in a guild, having the guild bank box checked is also very useful. The rest of the stuff you guys can leave as default. Next, let's go to auto open close. I know this is one of the big issues on the server where your bag just randomly closes or opens on its own. So I've unchecked all of the auto close. So my bag never closes on me. So it'll auto open at each of these things, but it will never auto close on me. So it kind of fixes that thing that I think is a bug with the Apollo server. Next, let's go to sort methods. This is where you can create how you want to sort things. So you get a bunch here by default that you can go and sort. The default sort is bag slot number, wherever it sits in a bag. And that's kind of terrible because you don't actually see the bags in Ark Inventory. It's kind of the point of it. So what you want to do is kind of create your own. So I've created 3. You can kind of copy these. So I've created one called age. To create one, you just come over here. So I'll just create one called test. I'm going to hit OK. And it appears down here. So notice none of these things are checked. So what I can do is kind of check off how I want to sort these things and kind of in what order. So let's say I want to sort it by vendor price and item rarity. But let's say I want item rarity first. So I'm going to get all of my purples. So I'm going to click move up. So it's going to sort all of my purples and then sort those then by price, and then all of my blues, then sorted by price, and so on. This would be a pretty useful or useless sort, so we're not going to use it. But I have 3. Feel free to copy these down. One is age. This is great for quest items. They just kind of come in sequentially, how long they've been in the bag. And then if you have multiple, they stay together, which is nice. So I have it then sort by item name. Next is equipment slot. This I use for my gear, so it's kind of always in the same spot, so I can get used to, you know, seeing kind of, you know, where it is in the bag. Next is what I call my standard sort. I actually do it by item level and then by name. This is amazing for things like food, consumes, stuff like that. And I have it using reversed names, which is awesome. So like super mana potion becomes potion super mana. So all of my potions will stay together. All of my other things will stay together, and they'll be in an ascending order of item level. So I can see, you know, like, oh, here's my late game stuff. And then I picked up this item while running a dungeon. This is a crappier potion. It'll stay, you know, to like the left side. Next, I also have equipment slot. Again, I used this one. Oh, we already went through these, right? And age. So there we go. We have all of the different sort methods. These are kind of the 3 that I use. And these are the defaults that are given to you by the game. Next, we go into our settings. What we're going to do, you'll notice there's a tab for every different possible thing you could be looking at. What I'm going to do is just kind of go through bag and then show you a way you could transfer it over, because there's a lot of stuff. So first, when you're clicked on bag, you get the window options. This is the window in general. So feel free to steal my settings, set the scale to whatever you want it to be. The width is kind of important. This is a personal thing. You know, how wide do you want the bar to be? Ark Inventory grows upwards with a maximum number of slots in width, which is nice. And then padding, I have this at the lowest value. This is just like how far in everything sits. So I like to keep it obviously as compact as possible. So I have padding low. So just grab these settings. My default sort for the window is age. One thing that I highly recommend is anytime you're in a sorting, do not click instant. I think it's very tempting when you first get it, like, ooh, I want things to instantly sort. But what happens is you right click something to open it, and then everything moves around when you were going to right click the next thing. This is terrible for like disenchanting or prospecting. So just let it reposition everything on the bag. So you can just, you know, close your bag, open your bag, and things will reposition. Next is the background color. Obviously set this to whatever you want. You get, you should have a whole bunch of these here based on whatever other add-ons you're using. I'm just using standard solid and just made it gray and somewhat transparent. The next thing is the border. I've set my border to be Ark Inventory. This is another cool thing about Ark Inventory. It gives you great borders to put on stuff. So you get these nice like chubby rounded ones or these chubby square ones. So I'm using one of those as the border for my bars. You might have to play with the height and the offset and stuff like that on the border. Just get it look nice and make sure everything's touched up. Next we have frames. This is all about this top frame here, right? So I have a title frame. Now I could hide this title part on top, but I don't. I keep it like this and I set it to thin rather than normal. So this is a nice change. It's going to make this compact. And what this title bar does is it gives us all of the other things here. So we have our search bar, our bag changer, status, all of that stuff that we could edit here is actually just right up there. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you guys some stuff. So I could refresh the bag by clicking it. This will, refresh the sorting order. I can open the bag changer. And here you can see my poor person's nether weave bags. It highlights them so I could see what's in what bag, move stuff around if I have an enchanting bag, something like that. Then I could close it. I have a restack button, which is going to stack everything up if some stacks get split. I have a toggle location button. This is just amazing. I could click on, the bag. I could see my bank, the guild bank from anywhere. It'll have whatever data it was last there, which is fantastic. I have a switch character mode, so I could click on any of my other characters and see what's in their bag, and it kind of grays it out, which is just so cool. You get a search function, which opens up a completely new window, and you could search stuff on all of your characters, which is pretty amazing. And you also have a rules section, which we're going to get into kind of a bit later. And then obviously the edit mode, which you'll be using a lot as you kind of get this thing kind of locked in. So next in our config, we could configure the bars. This is what Ark Inventory calls each of these little groups that we've created. So with bars, I have my anchor to the bottom right because I have everything on my screen pointing to the bottom right. And I like to make sure that I check this box compact, which is going to get rid of all of the empty bars and make sure that everything stays nice and tight. For padding, I'm going to go down here. I have it kind of as little as possible. And then I have about 11 to me seemed good. If I set this to like 0, I can't see what my groups are. So I kind of play with this to see, how spread out I want everything to be. Background, this is kind of huge for the minimalist look. The bars all have like a background that is rectangular. I just set the opacity of these to 0 so they're transparent. So I just get my nice clean looking groups. Border, you could also put a border around these. It looks terrible in my opinion. You could do that if you want, but I have that set to none, which again keeps the clean look. And name, you could show. You can name each of the groups and food, my everyday carry items, trash, but I have that off as well. Then we have items, a lot of the same settings for items. Again, I just anchor everything to the bottom right. Padding is how far apart each of the individual items are. So I have that set to 4, seems nice for me for the border I'm using, which we'll get to. Cooldown, we can make sure we have our cooldown showing. It won't update normally, which is nice, keeps it low on CPU usage, but you can have it refresh when you're in combat. So if you have like potions or trinkets, you'll be able to see those. We can set the border. For me, I just love the Ark Inventory square number 2 border. I think this border is fantastic, and it can really, shows what's a white item, blue, green, without being too intrusive. Empty slots. I like to click like use icon. Otherwise I get this, you just get this ugly gray. So just use that. And then what you can do is set slot colors for empty slots of like say an enchanting bag. So you could see how many, it'll kind of color the little border around this of the enchanting bag. So you'll know, oh, I have 6 more slots specifically open in my enchanting bag for those materials. And item age is probably the most disgusting thing. You can see how long your items have been there, which is just stupid. So turn that off. All right. So next, let's get into the controls here. So this is where this gets super useful. So I think one of the main things is by default, it's anchored top left, which means when I click this, everything's going to grow down by default, which is stupid. I think most people have their bags bottom right, but you can set this wherever you want your bag. I keep my bag in the bottom right, so I have the anchor in the bottom right. So as it gets taller, this corner stays put. So setting that anchor, I think, is hugely important in getting this to work. And then you could lock it in place. You can unlock it, you can move it around wherever you need it to be. And then once you're comfortable where it's at, we lock it in place. All right. Next, after we do this, this is where I think it's going to save you a lot of time. Go to your bank, click settings, and click back. This way, all of that configuration we just did is now going to transfer over to our bank, but we can still set up our own custom categories in our bank as well. So this just kind of saves us a ton of time on all of those silly little settings that we just got into. Okay. Next, we can go into categories. I don't know if you guys saw, but I had an everyday carry category, right? Where I just had, you know, my skinning knife, my tabards that I need, fishing rod, hearthstone, etc. You can very easily create these. If I just create one called Poopy, there we go. I've created a category called Poopy. And now if I went to one of these boxes, box 30 here is unassigned to nothing. I could go in here, go to custom, and select Poopy. And that means anything that I assign Poopy will now go into that box, which is pretty nice. Then if we go from here, I think the last thing that I wanted to get into now was rules. So as you can see, I have my gear from my bear set sitting right here. And I think in this next one, I also have all of my gear for my boomy set. So what's really cool about this is I'll take, it takes your gear sets into account. So there's a kind of a specific way to do this. So let's go through that. So if I go to my character, I have my bear gear and I have my boomy gear. If I equip my bear gear, you'll see instantly my boomy gear gets put in its own spot, which is just fantastic. So to do this, all you need to do is click on this rules button, which is going to open up a separate window that looks really weird for absolutely no reason. So you'll be greeted kind of with this screen, and you can set up any rules you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to click add, and then you're going to give it a name, right? So let's edit one I have. And then in the formula, you're just going to type outfit, open parentheses, and in quotes, the name of your gear set, right? And then once you've done that, once you hit accept, it's going to show up right here, which is awesome. And then when you go into your edit mode on your bag and you're like, okay, I want to set this gear set to be in this box, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to rule, and I'm going to select that rule that I just created. So this lets you put any of your equipment sets in any spot, which is super nice. So I think I've gone through pretty much everything for Ark Inventory. Oh wait, no, I haven't. I forgot about some awesome bonus stuff that you get in Ark Inventory as well. I don't know if you guys can see on top, I'm using Titan panel to handle some, database stuff. And right here, you can see my justice points and my valor points, along with any other currencies that I might have available. This is actually given to us by Ark Inventory. So if I go into Titan panel, I actually have a bags situation, a money situation, mount situation, pets, currency, and tracking items. So say you're farming leather, you could turn on this leather one and you could see exactly how many leather things you have sitting in your bag as you're going without even having to open your bag, which is super nice. The mounts one is also very cool. We get a nice little icon. If I click on it, it's going to summon the fastest possible mount automatically. If I right click on it, I could select any of my mounts from a nice convenient list or select a random one, which is really cool. And we can also edit this from the Ark Inventory configuration as well. So we can go into config, we go to LDB, and we can see all of our mounts. We could say if we want them. So like, okay, my Great Kodo is ground mount, but I never want to ride this. So I'm just going to take that off of the list. And it goes into the unknown section. So I could have, 4 or 5 ground mounts that I think are cool, 4 or 5 flying mounts I think are cool. The Abyssal Seahorse is, I think, the only water mount, right? Maybe there's like 2 more. But that's it. And then when I click it, I'll get a random one out of those, which is really, really awesome. So there's so much cool stuff that you get with Ark Inventory, like the tooltip thing, like the LDB stuff. I really think this is a super good add-on that I literally can't play without. So I hope this helps you guys. Hopefully you can get this kind of set up on your own characters, experimenting with the groups. I'll try to put together a list of what my groups are, so you guys can go and kind of just start by creating all of those groups and edit from there. All right, have a good one, guys. One more quick thing that I actually forgot to go through right now is the guild bank. As you guys can see, the guild bank is beautifully organized by our lovely officers in Team War Turtle. Now, if only everybody was using Ark Inventory, we wouldn't have to keep it organized and we could have it looking beautiful just by putting stuff in there. But we obviously can't expect every single person to do that. So what I like to do is actually disable the guild bank. So I can really quickly show you guys how to disable those modules. So when you go into controls here, I go over the guild bank and I actually uncheck this override button. So you see for the bag, it overrides the default option, which is the default bags, and uses Ark Inventory instead. For guild bank, uncheck this so you can get the default guild bank. Now I have a similar style, obviously, as you can see. I'm doing this with an add-on called Skinner that changes kind of what all of the frames look like my character frame, and kind of go for a little bit of an LVUI look without actually running LVUI. All right,